The classroom was very large. It was bigger than most buildings on Earth. The walls were made of some kind of metal that changed color when you looked at it from different angles. Strange lights floated near the ceiling. They moved slowly like lazy fish in water. This was the Galactic Academy. It was the best school in the known universe. Students came from hundreds of different planets to study here. Marcus Cole sat in the back row. He was 22 years old. He had brown hair that was always a little messy. His eyes were dark and calm. He was the only human in this class. Actually, he was one of only 12 humans in the entire academy. Humans were new to space travel. They had only joined the galactic community about 50 years ago. Most alien species still thought of humans as primitive, like children who had just learned to walk. The professor floated to the front of the room. His name was Professor Volinix. He was an insectoid. That meant he looked like a giant bug. He had 6 legs, 4 arms, and huge eyes that were made of thousands of tiny parts. When he talked, his mouth parts clicked together and made sounds that the translation device turned into words. "Today, we have a practical examination," Professor Volinix announced. His clicking voice echoed in the big room. "Each student will receive raw materials. You will have 3 standard hours to build a weapon. You will be judged on 3 things: how complex your weapon is, how deadly it is, and how creative you were in making it." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. He had studied hard for this class. Weapons engineering was one of the hardest subjects at the academy, but he was good at it. He understood how things worked, how to make them break, how to make them dangerous. The other students started moving to the front of the room. There was a big machine there that gave out materials. It was like a vending machine, but instead of snacks, it gave out metals and wires and energy cells and all kinds of things you could use to build weapons. Kevin Park was first in line. He was a Dreven. They looked almost human, but their skin had tiny scales and their teeth were flat like a shark's. Kevin's family was very rich. They owned mining companies on dozens of planets. Kevin always wore expensive clothes and always had the newest technology. He thought he was better than everyone else, especially better than humans. The machine gave Kevin a big box of materials. Marcus could see shiny metals, plasma conduits, focusing crystals, everything you needed to build a high-tech weapon. Next came the twins from the Kethri species. They were tall and thin, with skin that was pale purple. They got crystal matrices. These could be used to make sonic weapons, weapons that use sound to hurt people. The blue-skinned students from Auravax went next. They got materials for energy blades, like swords made of pure light. One by one, every student got their materials. One by one, they went back to their workstations and started building. The room filled with the sounds of tools and machines. Finally, it was Marcus's turn. He walked up to the machine. He put his student card into the slot. The machine made a humming sound. Then it beeped. Then nothing happened. Marcus tried again. Same result. The screen on the machine showed an error message. Materials not found. Professor Volinix floated over. He looked at the screen with his many eyes. "Ah," he said. His voice did not sound surprised or sorry. It seems there was an error. The humans' materials were not loaded into the system. Some students laughed. Kevin Park laughed the loudest. "Very unfortunate," Professor Volinix continued. "You may sit and observe today, Human Cole. You can take the examination another time." Marcus did not move. He stood very still. His face showed nothing, but inside he was angry. This was not the first time something like this had happened. His materials for chemistry class had been lost. His seat in the flight simulator had been broken. His name had been accidentally removed from the graduation list twice. They did not want him here. They had never wanted him here. The other students went back to their work. They had already forgotten about him. To them, he was nothing. Just a primitive human who did not belong at their fancy school. Marcus looked around the room. He looked at the workstations with their expensive tools. He looked at the other students with their boxes of materials. He looked at the professor who had already turned away from him. Then he looked at the chairs. They were simple observation chairs, made for visitors who came to watch classes. They were built from Academy standard materials. High tensile alloy. Very strong. Very durable. Designed to last for hundreds of years. Marcus walked to the back of the room. Nobody watched him. Why would they? He was just the human who had failed before the test even started. He stopped in front of one of the chairs. He looked at it carefully. He could see where the pieces were welded together. He could see the stress points, the places where the metal was just a little bit weaker than everywhere else. Marcus grabbed the chair leg with both hands. He took a deep breath. Then he pulled. The sound was like a gunshot, a loud crack that echoed off the metal walls. Every student stopped what they were doing. Every head turned to look at the human in the back of the room. Marcus held up the chair leg. It was about 2 feet long. One end was smooth where he had gripped it. The other end was jagged and sharp where it had broken away from the chair. It looked like a spear. A primitive spear, like the ones his ancestors had used thousands of years ago. "I have my weapon," Marcus said. His voice was calm and clear. It filled the silent room. Professor Volinix floated toward him. His many eyes blinked in confusion. "That is furniture, Human Cole. The assignment requires you to construct a weapon." "I did construct it." Marcus tested the weight of the metal rod. He adjusted his grip until it felt right. "It took me about 4 seconds. You broke something that already existed. That is destruction, not engineering." Marcus smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been pushed too far and had decided to push back. "I identified the material," Marcus said. "High tensile alloy. Strong but brittle at the well points. I calculated the stress angles. I applied force at exactly the right place to create a breaking point that would leave a sharp edge." He held up the makeshift spear. "This is not destruction, Professor. This is adaptation. This is engineering at its most basic level. I saw a problem. I found a solution. I made a weapon." The room was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Marcus walked toward the demonstration circle in the center of the room. This was where students tested their finished weapons against practice dummies. "Permission to demonstrate functionality," he said. It was not really a question. Kevin Parks stood up from his workstation. His face was twisted with anger. "This is ridiculous. He cannot be serious. He broke a chair and now he thinks he has a weapon? This is why humans should not be allowed at the academy. They are savages, animals." Marcus did not look at Kevin. He kept his eyes on the professor. "Permission to demonstrate," he said again. Professor Volinix was quiet for a long moment. His compound eyes studied the human, studied the broken chair leg in his hand, studied the calm, patient expression on his face. "Proceed," the professor finally said. Marcus stepped into the circle. The demonstration circle was about 30 feet wide. The floor was made of a special material that could absorb damage. Energy blasts, explosions, even small nuclear reactions. The floor could handle it all. Around the edges of the circle, there were sensors and cameras. They would record everything that happened. They would measure how powerful a weapon was, how fast, how deadly. Marcus stood in the center of the circle. He held the broken chair leg in his right hand. The jagged end pointed forward like the tip of a spear. He looked calm. His breathing was slow and steady. His eyes were focused. The other students gathered around the circle. Some of them were laughing quietly. Others looked confused. A few looked curious. What was this crazy human going to do with a piece of broken furniture? Kevin Park pushed his way to the front of the crowd. His scaled face was twisted into an ugly smile. "This should be entertaining," he said loudly. "Watch the primitive human play with his stick." Marcus did not respond. He did not even look at Kevin. He just waited till Professor Volinix activated the testing system. A panel in the floor opened, and a combat dummy rose up from below. It was a sphere about the size of a basketball. It floated in the air using anti-gravity technology. It could move in any direction. It could dodge attacks. It could even fight back with small energy pulses. But most importantly, it had shields. Energy shields that could stop plasma fire, laser beams, sonic attacks. All the high-tech weapons that students usually built in this class. "The test will begin in 5 seconds, the professor announced. "The goal is to disable the combat dummy. You will be scored on speed, efficiency, and technique." Marcus shifted his weight slightly. He adjusted his grip on the chair leg. His eyes never left the floating sphere. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin. The combat dummy came alive. Its surface started to glow with a soft blue light. This was its shield activating. It began to move, floating left and right, up and down, in random patterns. It was designed to be hard to hit. Most students would have started shooting at it. They would have used their plasma guns or energy blades to attack from a distance. They would have tried to overload its shields with repeated hits. This usually took several minutes. The best students could do it in under 2 minutes. Marcus did something different. He ran not away from the dummy. Toward it. He sprinted across the circle so fast that several students gasped in surprise. Humans were not supposed to be this fast. They were supposed to be slow and weak. That was what everyone believed. The dummy's sensors detected the movement. It tried to float away, but Marcus was faster. In less than 2 seconds, he had crossed the entire circle. He swung the chair leg. The jagged metal end hit the dummy's shield. There was a flash of blue light. The shield flickered. It was designed to stop energy attacks. It was designed to absorb heat and radiation. But it was not designed to stop a simple piece of metal moving very fast. The shield held for about half a second. Then the chair leg punched through. The jagged end tore into the dummy's outer shell. There was a shower of sparks. The dummy made a high-pitched sound, like a scream. It tried to pull away, but Marcus held on tight. He twisted the chair leg, digging it deeper into the machine. Then he pulled it out and struck again. This time, he hit the central processor, the brain of the dummy. The thing that made it work, the dummy stopped moving. Its blue glow faded. It fell to the floor with a heavy thud. Total time, 6 seconds. The room was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They just stared at the human standing over the broken combat dummy, holding his primitive weapon. Marcus was not even breathing hard. Professor Volinix broke the silence first. His clicking voice was strange. It almost sounded nervous. That is, not standard testing procedure. "Did I disable the dummy?" Marcus asked. "Yes, but then I passed the test." Kevin Park stepped forward. His face was no longer smiling. "He cheated. The shields are supposed to protect against weapons. He just hit it with a stick." "The shields protect against energy weapons," Marcus said calmly. "Plasma, lasers, sonic waves. They were designed to stop high-tech attacks." He held up the chair leg. "This is not a high-tech attack. This is a piece of metal, moving fast. The shields did not know how to stop it. That is not fair. War is not fair." Marcus's voice was cold now. Hard. The assignment was to build a weapon that could disable the dummy. I built a weapon. I disabled the dummy. In 6 seconds. How long does it usually take? Nobody answered. But everyone knew. The Academy record was 1 minute and 43 seconds. It was held by a Dreven general's daughter, who went on to become a famous warrior. Marcus had beaten that record by more than 1 minute and 30 seconds. With a broken chair leg, Professor Violinix seemed to recover some of his composure. The exercise is meant to test engineering skills, he said. Complexity, innovation, technical ability. What you did was crude but effective, Marcus replied. Is that not what matters in a real fight? A fancy weapon that takes 3 hours to build is useless if your enemy kills you in the first 5 minutes. Real fights involve real weapons, not pieces of furniture. Tell that to my ancestors. Marcus's eyes were dark and serious. Humans have been fighting for thousands of years, long before we had plasma guns or energy shields. We fought with rocks, with sticks, with our bare hands, and we survived. We survived ice ages. We survived predators bigger and stronger than us. We survived each other. He pointed the chair leg at the broken dummy on the floor. This is what humans do. We look at the world around us and we see weapons. We see tools. We see possibilities. Give us nothing and we will make something. Put us in an empty room and we will find a way to fight. The other students were looking at Marcus differently now. Before, they had seen a primitive, a joke, someone who did not belong at their fancy school. Now, some of them were looking at him with something like fear. Kevin Park was not afraid. He was angry. His scaled hands were clenched into fists. His flat teeth were grinding together. Pretty speech, Kevin said. The words do not prove anything. That dummy was a machine. It could not fight back. It could not think. Let us see how well your stick works against a real opponent. Marcus tilted his head slightly. Are you challenging me, Kevin? I am challenging you to prove that humans are more than just animals with lucky hands. Kevin's voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Unless you are scared. I am not scared. Then fight me. Right here. Right now. Academy Dueling Protocols. Section 7, Subsection 3. Honor Challenges for Academic Disputes. Professor Valenix raised one of his 4 hands. Combat between students is permitted under Academy rules, Kevin interrupted. I know the rules, Professor. The human insulted the integrity of this class. I have the right to demand satisfaction. Marcus looked at Kevin for a long moment. He looked at the expensive armor Kevin was wearing, the high-tech weapon Kevin had been building, the confident smile on Kevin's scaled face. Then Marcus looked down at the broken chair leg in his hand. I accept, he said. The crowd of students started to murmur. This was going to be interesting. A rich Dreven with the best equipment money could buy versus a human with a piece of broken furniture. Everyone knew how this would end. Or, at least, they thought they did. Word spread fast through the academy. By the time Marcus and Kevin reached the main combat arena, hundreds of students had already gathered to watch. They sat in floating seats that circled the arena like a stadium. They whispered to each other. They made bets. They recorded everything with their personal devices. Diana Kim pushed through the crowd to reach Marcus. She was another human student at the academy. She was in the medical program. She had long black hair and worried eyes. Marcus, you do not have to do this, she said. Kevin's family has connections. If you hurt him, if I hurt him, his family will try to get me expelled, Marcus finished. And if I do not fight, everyone will say humans are cowards. Either way, I lose something. So I might as well fight. At least let me get you some armor. Or a real weapon. Something better than... She looked at the chair leg in his hand. That, Marcus shook his head. No, I want to win with this. I want everyone to see what humans can do with nothing. Diana opened her mouth to argue, but then she stopped. She knew that look in Marcus's eyes. She had seen it in the eyes of other humans. That stubborn determination. That refusal to give up, even when the situation seemed impossible. "Fine," she said. "But if you die, I will never forgive you. I will try to avoid dying." The arena was bigger than the classroom. It was designed for serious combat training. The floor could create obstacles. Walls could rise from the ground. The whole space could change to simulate different battle environments. Today, it was set to basic mode. Just a flat, circular space about 100 feet wide. No obstacles. No tricks. Just two fighters and their weapons. Kevin Park stood on one side of the arena. He had changed into full combat armor. It was sleek and black, with glowing lines that showed where the energy shields were. He held his plasma cutter in one hand. The blade glowed bright orange. It was hot enough to cut through solid steel. Marcus stood on the other side. He wore his standard academy uniform, a simple gray jacket and pants. No armor, no shield, just a broken chair leg in his hand. The crowd went quiet as an official stepped into the center of the arena. She was an old Kethri woman with pale purple skin and silver eyes. "This is an honor duel under Academy protocols," she announced. Her voice was calm and formal. The challenge was made by Kevin Park of House Dreven. The challenge was accepted by Marcus Cole of Earth. The duel will continue until one fighter surrenders or is unable to continue. Lethal force is permitted but not required. She looked at both fighters. "Do you understand the rules?" "I understand," Kevin said. He smiled. He was enjoying this. "I understand," Marcus said. His face showed nothing. "Then take your positions." The official stepped back. The arena shields activated, protecting the audience from any stray shots. The cameras focused on the two fighters. Kevin raised his plasma cutter. The orange blade hummed with deadly energy. "Any last words, human?" Marcus said nothing. He just shifted his weight slightly. He held the chair leg loosely at his side. "I will try to make this quick," Kevin continued. "It would be cruel to make you suffer too long." Still, Marcus said nothing. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin. Kevin attacked immediately. He was fast for a Dreven. He crossed half the arena in 2 seconds, swinging his plasma cutter in a wide arc that would have cut Marcus in half. But Marcus was not there. He had moved the moment the countdown ended. Not forward. To the side. He was already circling, staying just out of reach of Kevin's weapon. Kevin swung again. And again. Each time, Marcus stepped aside. He moved like water, flowing around the attacks without seeming to try. "Stand still," Kevin shouted. His face was turning red under his scales. "Fight me." Marcus did not respond. He just kept moving, watching, waiting. The crowd was murmuring now. This was not what they expected. They expected the human to charge in and get cut down. Instead, he was dancing around Kevin like a ghost. Kevin tried a different approach. He stopped chasing Marcus and held his position in the center of the arena. "Coward," he called out. "You cannot win by running. Sooner or later, you will have to face me." Marcus stopped moving. He stood about 30 feet away from Kevin. The chair leg hung at his side. "You are right," Marcus said. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "I cannot win by running." Then he threw the chair leg. It happened so fast that most people did not see it. One moment, the metal rod was in Marcus's hand. The next moment, it was flying through the air like a missile. It did not hit Kevin. It hit Kevin's plasma cutter. More specifically, it hit the power cell at the base of the weapon. The small box that provided energy to the plasma blade. There was a crack. A spark, The plasma blade flickered and died. Kevin looked down at his weapon in shock. The power cell was cracked. Not broken, but damaged enough to shut down the weapon. What? He started to say. Marcus was already moving. He crossed the 30 feet between them in less than 2 seconds. Before Kevin could react, Marcus was right in front of him. His hand shot out and grabbed Kevin's wrist. He twisted hard. Kevin cried out in pain. The broken plasma cutter fell from his hand. Marcus kicked it away. Then he released Kevin's wrist and stepped back. "Pick up my weapon," Marcus said, pointing to the chair leg on the ground. "I will give you a chance to use it." Kevin stared at him. "What? You said I was an animal with a stick. So use the stick? Show me how a superior species fights." The crowd was completely silent. Nobody had ever seen anything like this. A human had just disarmed a fully armored Driven with the best equipment money could buy. And now he was offering to let his opponent use his own weapon. Kevin's face twisted with rage. He picked up the chair leg and charged at Marcus. Marcus did not run this time. He stepped forward into the attack. His hand caught Kevin's arm before the swing could complete. He twisted again, using Kevin's momentum against him. Kevin flew through the air and landed hard on his back. The chair leg clattered away. Marcus was on top of him in an instant. His knee pressed against Kevin's chest. His hand pressed against Kevin's throat. Not choking, but close enough to make the message clear. "Surrender," Marcus said quietly. "This fight is over." Kevin's eyes were wide with shock and fear. His expensive armor had not protected him at all. His combat training had not helped him. He had lost to a human with no weapons and no armor. I surrender," Kevin whispered. Marcus stood up. He offered his hand to Kevin. Kevin did not take it. He just lay there on the ground, staring at the ceiling of the arena. The official stepped forward. "The duel is over. Marcus Cole of Earth is the winner." The crowd was still silent. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. Then more people. Then more. Not all of them. Many aliens still looked shocked or angry. But enough of them clapped that the sound filled the arena. Marcus walked over and picked up his chair leg. The jagged end was slightly bent from where it had Kevin's plasma cutter. But it was still sharp. Still deadly. He looked up at the crowd. At the hundreds of faces staring down at him. Human faces were rare among them. But Diana was there, grinning and clapping harder than anyone else. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Then he walked out of the arena, the broken chair leg still in his hand. Behind him, Kevin Park still lay on the ground. He was not hurt badly. His body would heal, but his pride was broken. And pride, Marcus knew, was often slower to heal than bones. The news spread through the academy like fire. Within hours, everyone knew what had happened. A human student had defeated a Driven in formal combat. With a broken chair leg. Without armor. Without fancy weapons. Just skill and speed, and something else that nobody could quite explain. Videos of the fight were everywhere. Students from 100 different species watched Marcus dodge Kevin's attacks. They watched him throw the chair leg at the power cell. They watched him take Kevin down with his bare hands. Some of them laughed. Some of them were angry. But many of them were quiet. They watched the videos again and again, trying to understand what they had seen. Marcus spent the hours after the fight in his small room. It was nothing special. Just a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the stars. Human students did not get the nice rooms. They did not get the big apartments with views of the garden planets. They got small boxes near the maintenance section. Marcus did not mind. He had lived in smaller spaces on Earth. Diana came to visit him that evening. She brought food from the dining hall, something that looked like meat but probably was not. "You are famous," she said, sitting on the edge of his bed. Everyone is talking about you. Everyone is talking about the fight, Marcus corrected. That is different. Same thing, right now. Diana poked at her food. Kevin's family is already making trouble. They filed a complaint with the Academy Board. They say you damaged Academy property, the chair, and that you should be punished. I thought I might be expelled for winning too easily. Diana laughed, but there was worry in her eyes. This is serious, Marcus. The Park family has a lot of influence. They donate millions of credits to the Academy every year. If they want you gone, then I will be gone. Marcus shrugged. I have been expecting this since the day I arrived. They never wanted humans here. This just gives them an excuse. That is not fair. Nothing about this place is fair. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. The stars stretched out forever, millions of tiny lights in the darkness. Do you know why I came here, Diana? Not because I wanted to study weapons engineering. Not because I wanted to make alien friends. I came here because someone told me that humans could not do it. That we were too primitive. Too stupid. Too weak. He turned to look at her. I wanted to prove them wrong. Not for me. For all of us. For every human who will come after me. If I can survive here, if I can succeed here, then maybe the next human will have it a little easier. And the one after that. And the one after that. Diana was quiet for a moment. That is a lot of pressure to put on yourself. Someone has to do it. Marcus smiled. It was a tired smile. Might as well be me. There was a knock at the door. Marcus frowned. He did not get many visitors. Diana was basically his only friend at the academy. He opened the door and found two tall figures standing in the hallway. They were security officers. Their uniforms were crisp and official. Their faces showed no emotion. Marcus Cole of Earth? One of them said, "That is me. You are summoned to appear before the Academy Review Board. Please come with us." Marcus looked back at Diana. She had stood up, her face pale with worry. "It will be okay," Marcus said. He was not sure if he believed it. He followed the security officers through the Academy's long corridors. They passed classrooms and laboratories. They passed gardens filled with plants from 1,000 different worlds. They passed groups of students who stopped and stared as Marcus walked by. The review board chamber was in the oldest part of the academy. It was a round room with high ceilings and walls covered in symbols that Marcus did not recognize. In the center of the room was a single chair for the accused. Around the edges sat 5 beings, each from a different species. Marcus recognized a few of them. There was a Kethri with pale purple skin and silver eyes. A Dreven, probably a relative of Kevin's. An Auravax, blue-skinned and cold-eyed. And 2 others whose species Marcus did not know. At the center of the panel sat the oldest being Marcus had ever seen. Its skin was like old paper, wrinkled and thin. Its eyes were like dying stars, dim but still burning. It had no hair, no obvious features that Marcus could identify. It was simply old. Old beyond counting. "Sit," the old being said. Its voice was soft but filled the room. Marcus sat. The Dreven spoke first. "Marcus Cole, you have been accused of destroying Academy property. Specifically, 1 observation chair in Weapons Engineering Classroom 7. How do you respond?" "I broke a chair leg to use as a weapon," Marcus said, "as part of a class assignment. The assignment required you to construct a weapon from provided materials. No materials were provided to me. The distribution system had an error. That error was not your fault. But destroying Academy property was your choice. Yes." Marcus did not argue. It was true. The Kethri spoke next. "You also engaged in a formal honor duel with another student, Kevin Park. He challenged me. I accepted. You could have refused. Could I?" Marcus looked at the panel. If I had refused, what would everyone have said? That humans are cowards. that we do not belong here, that we are weak. I have heard these things every day since I arrived at this academy. I was not going to give them more reasons to say it. The room was quiet. The old being at the center had not spoken again. It just watched Marcus with those dim, burning eyes. The Auravax leaned forward. You won the duel in an unconventional way. You threw your weapon at the opponent's weapon, disabling it. Then you used hand-to-hand combat to defeat him. This was unexpected. I used what I had. You also offered to let your opponent use your weapon against you. Why? Marcus thought about the question. Kevin said that humans are animals with sticks. I wanted to show him that the stick is not what makes us dangerous. We are dangerous. The stick is just a tool. More silence. The panel members looked at each other. Some of them seemed uncomfortable. Others seemed thoughtful. The Driven just looked angry. Finally, the old being spoke. Marcus Cole, do you know why humans are rare at this academy? Because most species think we are primitive. That is what most species say. But it is not the real reason. The old being's eyes seemed to brighten slightly. The real reason is fear. Marcus blinked. Fear? Of humans? Your species is very young. You have only been traveling between stars for 50 of your years. In that time, you have spread to dozens of worlds. You have built cities on planets that other species thought were uninhabitable. You have survived diseases, wars, disasters, things that would have destroyed other species. The old being leaned forward. When the first human ship made contact with our civilization, we studied your history. We learned about your wars, your weapons, your ability to adapt and survive and overcome. We learned about the times you faced extinction and refused to die. We learned about the things you did to each other and the things you did to survive. Its voice dropped lower. We were terrified. Marcus did not know what to say. A Driven, given nothing, will surrender. A Kethri will negotiate. An Auravax will file a complaint. A human will look at a chair and see a weapon. A human will look at an empty room and see 100 ways to fight. A human will look at impossible odds and say, "Let me try." The old being almost smiled. That is not primitive, Marcus Cole. That is terrifying. Marcus sat in the hard chair at the center of the review board chamber. His heart was beating faster than normal, but he kept his face calm. He had learned long ago that showing emotion was sometimes a weakness, especially when you did not know what was coming next. The old being continued to speak. His voice filled the room like smoke, soft but impossible to ignore. When the Galactic Council first debated allowing humans into the Academy, many voices spoke against it. They said humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. They said that teaching humans advanced weapons technology would be like giving fire to children. Eventually, the fire would burn out of control. The Driven Council member nodded. And they were right. Look at what this human has done. He destroyed property. He humiliated a student from one of the most respected families in the galaxy. He showed no respect for our traditions or our rules. He showed perfect respect for our rules, the old being said. Its voice was still soft, but there was something sharp beneath the surface. He was denied materials for an assignment. Instead of complaining, he found another way. He was challenged to a duel. Instead of refusing, he accepted. He won both the assignment and the duel. He broke no laws. He violated no protocols. He broke a chair. He adapted. The old being's eyes moved to Marcus. Tell me, human, when you looked at that chair, what did you see? Marcus thought carefully before answering. I saw a solution. The legs were made of high tensile alloy, strong but with weak points at the welds. I saw that the shape was right, long and thin, good for reaching. I saw that the broken end would be sharp enough to pierce lightweight armor. How long did this analysis take? Maybe 2 seconds. The room went quiet again. The council members exchanged glances, but Kethri spoke. 2 seconds. To identify the material, find the weak points, calculate the braking force, and plan the attack. In 2 seconds. I did not plan the attack, Marcus said. I just knew the weapon would work. The attack came later. That is even more concerning. The old being raised one wrinkled hand. The room fell silent. Marcus Cole, I have a question for you. Please answer honestly. I will try. If you were trapped in this room right now, no weapons, no help coming, and you had to fight your way out, how would you do it? Marcus looked around the chamber. He studied the walls, the ceiling, the chairs. He looked at the council members. He looked at the security officers standing by the door. The chairs the council members are sitting in have metal frames, he said slowly. Similar to the one I broke earlier. The light fixtures above us are made of glass or something like it. They could be broken and used as cutting tools. The floor has seams where the panels connect. If I could pry one up, the edge would be sharp. The security officers have weapons that I could try to take. The door looks like it opens outward, so if that is enough. The old being held up its hand again. Marcus stopped talking. You have been in this room for less than 10 minutes. In that time, you have identified at least 5 potential weapons and 1 escape route. You did this while sitting in a chair, answering questions about your future at this academy. The old being turned to the other council members. This is why humans are feared. Not because they are violent. Many species are violent. Not because they are strong. Many species are stronger. Humans are feared because they cannot stop thinking. They cannot look at a room without seeing possibilities. They cannot face a problem without trying to solve it. It looked back at Marcus. The chair leg incident was not a sign of primitive thinking. It was a sign of human thinking. The most efficient solution with the available resources. No wasted time. No wasted energy. Just results. The driven council member stood up. His face was red with anger. You cannot be serious. You are going to let this human get away with embarrassing one of our finest families? With making a mockery of our weapons program? I am not letting him get away with anything, the old being said. I am recognizing excellence when I see it. Excellence? He broke a chair. He created a weapon in 4 seconds that outperformed every other weapon in the class. The old being's voice was harder now. He defeated an honored opponent without taking a single hit. He demonstrated adaptability, creativity, and skill that would take most students years to develop. If this is not excellence, what is? The driven had no answer. He sat back down, still fuming. The old being turned back to Marcus. The council has reviewed your case. We have decided not to expel you. Marcus felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. Thank you. Do not thank us yet. There are conditions. What conditions? First, you will pay for the chair you destroyed. This is Academy property, and you damaged it. That is fair. Second, you will write a formal apology to Kevin Park and his family. Not for winning the duel, you won fairly, but for any public embarrassment caused by the manner of your victory. Marcus hesitated. He did not want to apologize to Kevin, but he understood politics. Sometimes you had to bend so you did not break. I will write the apology. Third, and this is most important, you will begin teaching. Marcus blinked. Teaching? A special class. For students who want to learn human combat methods. Human adaptability. Human survival techniques. The old being almost smiled again. There has been significant interest since your duel. Many students want to know how you did what you did. We have decided to let you show them. Marcus was speechless. This was not what he had expected. He had expected punishment. Maybe expulsion. Not this. You want me to teach other species how to think like humans? We want you to share your perspective, your methods, your way of seeing the world. The old being's eyes burned brighter. The galaxy is changing, Marcus Cole. Old alliances are breaking. New threats are emerging. The species that survive will be the ones who can adapt, who can think differently, who can look at a chair and see a weapon. Marcus sat in silence for a long moment. He thought about everything that had happened since he arrived at the academy. The insults, the exclusion, the accidents that tried to push him out. He had come here to prove that humans belonged. He had never imagined that proving it would lead to this. I accept, he said finally. The old being nodded. Good. Your first class will be next week. I expect you will have many students. The council meeting ended. Marcus walked out of the chamber in a daze. Diana was waiting for him in the hallway, her face tight with worry. What happened? Are you expelled? No. Marcus shook his head slowly. They want me to teach. Teach? Teach what? How to think like a human. Diana stared at him for a moment. Then she started to laugh. She laughed so hard that tears ran down her face. Marcus Cole, she said when she could breathe again, you came here to survive. And instead, you are going to change everything. Marcus looked down at the broken chair leg still in his hand. He had carried it through the duel, through the council meeting, through all of it. It was bent and scratched now, but it was still sharp, still useful. He smiled. That is what humans do, he said. We change things. He walked back to his room, Diana beside him. Tomorrow he would start planning his first class. He would figure out how to explain human thinking to aliens who had never understood it. He would teach them to see weapons in furniture and hope in hopelessness. But tonight, he would rest. He had earned it. Outside his window, the stars stretched out forever. Millions of lights in the darkness. Each one a sun. Each one surrounded by worlds full of species who had just learned something new about humanity. Humans were not primitive. Humans were not weak. Humans were survivors, adapters, problem-solvers. And now, the galaxy knew it. Marcus placed the broken chair leg on his desk. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he turned off the light and went to sleep. Tomorrow would be interesting. But then again, with humans, tomorrow was always interesting. The end.